So yesterday, I'd received a number of messages in my inbox, as well as outreach from musicians wanting to share with me their thoughts on Spotify CEO Daniel Elk's comments regarding the cost of content creation being taken down to pretty much zero. And at first, my reaction was the same as a lot of people's, which is, this guy's the problem. But after I really sat down to think about it, he's not the problem. He's the benefactor of a problem that's actually been growing and building for some time now. And I'll explain what I mean by this. But first, hold on to the saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And we've been paving this road for quite some time now. There's two things happening here. One is something that you could think of as maybe that MBA mindset, which is to always look for ways to reduce cost, improve efficiencies, drive sales, which by itself, there's nothing wrong with it. That makes a lot of sense. But you add to that a consumer mindset, which is we want everything to be cheap and easily accessible. And those two things serve each other very well. It creates an opportunity for an entrepreneur to deliver a solution and everybody's happy. The problem is we're not talking about a product. We're talking about art. And art is an experience. So what happens when you make an experience cheap and easy? Well, you devalue it, which is where we're at. We're actually looking at, in my opinion, the greatest devaluing of art in history, because we're doing everything we can to use technology to make the creation and the distribution and the acquisition of art as quick, as cheap, as easy as we possibly can. And this is something I think we've seen coming for some time now. We're all guilty of this. I lump myself into this as well. But going back to decades ago, when the first Guitar Hero video game came out, I remember having concerns because I would watch my children and their friends, and I'd watch people play this game using a little MIDI controller. And in observing them, they were getting the same rush, or it looked like they were having the same rush, the same experience that I would get standing on stage, playing with fellow musicians in front of a crowd. But they were doing it in the living room with a MIDI controller. On top of that, I was seeing their friends celebrate these people, treating them as a guitar hero because of their skill set in being able to use a MIDI controller in sequence with a song. So, all of a sudden, I was seeing people begin to realize that they didn't need to invest years into actually studying an instrument. They can have that same endorphin. They can have that same rush just by playing a video game a lot faster. And I've heard this comments in recent years. Somebody about a year ago left a comment on one of my posts saying that I must be really bitter knowing that person can do with a digital audio workstation within minutes what took me years to learn how to do on a guitar, that they didn't have to learn that skill set. And I'm not saying I'm bitter, but I am concerned because this is where we're at. People want to be able to create music without really investing too much time into the creation of the music. Consumers want to be able to buy or have access to music at as minimal a cost as possible without the fear of ever having to lose it. Once upon a time, we had our record collection, our tape collection. If you think about how you felt when you saw your cassette deck melted inside a hot car, or if the vinyl got broken or scratched, it was a pretty traumatic experience. Well, one of the benefits of the streaming world is everything's down in the palm of your hands, and if you lose it, it's pretty easy to replace. So the consumers want everything cheap and easy to access, easy to replace, and the businesses are going to feed that demand by making everything cheap and easy to create and distribute. And here's where we're at. So Daniel Elk's comment is not isolated to just him. He's not the bad guy for doing this. He's just an entrepreneur that saw an opportunity and delivered a service that the consumers are saying, yeah, we want this. He is the benefactor, one of a number of benefactors to this problem. I don't know what the solution is. I really don't. I know from a music consumer standpoint, the best thing you can do is recognize our contribution into this dilemma, this devaluing of art, and look for more opportunities to actually invest time and money into the experience. So buy a physical album, buy a digital album, but buy a physical album. Buy the merchandise, buy a ticket to the show, invest in the experience. If you're a musician, look, I don't have a problem with efficiencies. I love the tools within the digital audio workstations, the AUs, the VSTs, essentially the digital instruments do make things a lot more efficient, but there's got to be a point where we've taken it too far. And I don't know how to define that line, and I don't know how to stop ourselves from walking over that line. That's what's kind of scary here, is I don't think we can stop. I think we're going to keep doing this. And if you think about food over the last several decades, where we went from a lot of homegrown food, a lot of home-cooked food, to just shelves and stores full of highly processed foods, full of chemical ingredients. And we buy the stuff, we consume the stuff without even thinking about it. And then we wonder why 20, 30 years later, society's health has gone to crap because we're filling ourselves with highly processed foods. Same thing's happening with art and music. Art and music is becoming highly processed. And, Daniel Elk's comments do nothing more than put temporarily a spotlight on the problem until the next big headline comes along. So that's my thoughts on this. I do see it as a problem. I've talked about it before. I have no idea what the solution is, but I do feel like the solution is on the consumer side to make a decision of investing more time and money into the experience. Having everything cheap and easy comes at a cost.